Welcome to Boroughs Burbs with hosts John Engel and Roberto Cabrera. Over the next hour, you're going to learn some insider knowledge that will help you overcome and strategize in the cutthroat world of real estate. Now, here are your hosts, John and Roberto.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Episode 133 of Boroughs Burbs, the Long Island Show. And boy, what a show we've got for you today. The Long Island Show, where we're going to try and cover the Gold Coast, the Hamptons, the North Fork, and the South Shore, all in one episode with four all-stars of real estate, tops in each of their markets. I've got Enzo. Say hello, Enzo, in the Hamptons.
Hey, guys.
I've got Peter Halpin in the North Fork. Say hi.
Hi, everybody.
I've got Maria Babaev on the Gold Coast.
Hello.
And I got Thomas Tripodi on the
South Shore.
South Shore. Does that include Fire Island, Thomas, or is that a separate thing?
South Shore, Long Island, that's it.
Yeah, and does that include Fire Island, or is that like its own universe? No?
No, it's mostly around the Long Beach area, Atlantic Beach, Lido Beach.
All
Kind
right.
of area.
So I'm going to pull up the map. That's Long Island. I want to first thank our sponsor, Grace Farms. That's an 80-acre campus. That's the famous river building designed by Sana, Pritzker Prize-winning Sana a few years ago. If you haven't checked out Grace Farms, make sure you do. Enzo is one of the big stars nationally. If you don't know Enzo, you probably don't read the New York Post, because Enzo's ads, here's an example of one of Enzo's ads in the Post. Enzo's been a fixture in the New York Post for 20, 30 years, and making sure that everybody in New York knows all about the luxury real estate on Long Island. I've got Thomas. That's Thomas's page. I've got Maria. I've got a better page for Maria. Maria, you can find at luxurylongisland.com. That's Maria. And she's got a fabulous page with all the listings for the Gold Coast, iconic sales. And then I just wanted to pull up Peter, and there's Peter's page, and he's showing us a little bit of sand dune, representative, I guess, of the North Fork. And with that, let's begin. Enzo, how long you been doing this?
A couple of weeks, give or take. Now, I've been doing this about 40 some odd years, give or take. Mostly take.
And does one just decide one day that I think I'll just go out to the Hamptons and become a real estate agent and dominate one of the most storied and famous real estate markets of them all?
Which one? I'm sorry, what was that?
Do you just decide one day to go out there and dominate the Hamptons real estate market, or did that take some time?
I came from Italy when I was very young. I became a lifeguard, and my first job was a lifeguard in the Hamptons, and I was a surfer. And then my whole life changed. That was when I was 17, so 16 actually.
So originally you were Enzo.
I am.
You were Enzo, okay.
Enzo Morabito. So I've been out here. I fell in love with the area, and then I ended up. I was a school teacher for a little while, and I ended up being part owner of a club on Dune Road, which was Summers Beach Club, which was a daytime disco. And I never quite left, and I got into horses. I've become part of life out here. I played polo and competed in the jumpers. So I've been here a while.
But I'm gonna ask you again. How do you become the dominant force in Hamptons real estate? I think it takes more than just being there a while. I mean, showing up is half of the game. But for these people with major estates out in the Hamptons to put their trust in you, I think takes something more. and I want to know what that is.
More than hanging out here.
Yeah, you have to do more than just be there and hang out there.
As I said, I've become kind of like a fixture out here, and the people, I think our reputation is that we're totally transparent, even to our detriment sometimes. And I think eventually in the long haul, if you get up early enough and you work hard enough and you're transparent and honest and know what the heck you're doing, the people normally come to you, you know? Also, my advertising budget, I advertise. I'm into marketing and advertising. That's my whole love, I think, of this whole business. How do you present something and how do you get people to look at it? And continuously, how do you change it? We don't do 1, 2, 3 kick. We're always looking what's next, what's up, and try to stay ahead of the crowd. That's kind of like a trademark I've made. It's wherever I advertise, all of a sudden all the agents advertise, and people go, "Isn't that terrible?" And what it really does is it forces me to move to the next phase. Once everybody does it, then it becomes regular. And I'm opposed to regularity. You know, it's not my style. I like having fun, you know, having fun and making money. It's great. And we're respected for that.
All right, so now I want to turn to Maria and Thomas. My perception is that in the beginning, meaning 100 years ago, the Tiffany's and the Gatsby's, they when they came out to Long Island, they settled on the South Shore and they settled on the Gold Coast because it was close to the city. And so I want to hear
that on
a
a
little
map,
bit.
John. John, bring that up on the map. Give us some perspective
Okay.
on that.
And so when we think of the Great Gatsby, let's see, where was that? Great Gatsby. I think we're looking at this whole Port Washington to Stony Brook, this area here, right?
So
That's
is that the
correct.
Gold Coast?
That's the Gold Coast. That's the North Shore of Long Island, which is synonymous with the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
And that's your market, right, Maria?
That is my market.
And so so I think that of the center of Long Island, Melville, the middle, that used to be farmland. And after the war, a lot of those farms got developed into housing and towns, but the great estates still remain on the coast. Did they get broken up? Are they broken up now? Or are you still able to buy the great estates, and do the rich and famous still seek out the Gold Coast?
Well, the original Gold Coast of Long Island, for example, if we take Old Westbury as an example, it was just very few large estates with acreage of 200 acres, 500 acres. And of course, as years went by, most of these estates were subdivided to many different communities. And so it is very challenging right now to find a state with a lot of acreage. There's one on the market right now called Ercles in Old Westbury. It's about 90 acres, but something like that is very rare. We've had some properties between, I would say, 35 to 50 acres, but it's becoming pretty much a very rare find, and they don't really exist.
Can you explain what something like 35 or 50 acres, like what are you buying the land? Are you buying a huge piece of property on it? You're buying something that needs to be raised? Like what is it that someone gets there for 35 acres? What?
Again, there's really only a handful of such estates remaining. For example, a estate that I sold a few years ago in Muttontown, it was 97 acres. The mansion itself was actually erased because of the tax purposes, right? Because, you know, there's tremendous amount of taxes that owners still pay. And if they're holding it for 50, 60 years, and now it's a new generation, if you will, they're not necessarily willing to pay such taxes. So in that specific situation, it was just sold as land because there was some cottages remaining, but the main mansion was actually demolished for these purposes. So there's a few estates such as Ercles that I mentioned. It's still on the market, and the mansion is in a beautiful shape. It's in the Phipps family ownership. It's a original owner. They purchased the estate in they came to Old Westbury and had that estate since 1903, had a smaller house, then later built a bigger mansion. And Old Westbury Gardens is the also part of the Phipps estate. It was two brothers. But estates like that, this is not, as I said, what we're selling now, let's say in the village of Old Westbury, there's a 2-acre zoning and there's also 4-acre zoning. So all of these original estates were later subdivided in smaller lots, which is still a substantial amount of land compared to the rest of Long Island.
What is the price point, more or less, if someone was to find an estate? Is that a $20 to $40 million proposition? Is it more than that? Is it?
Well, Ercles is on the market for $23 million right now.
Okay.
Tell me about this listing right here for $7 million. This is a more typical Gold Coast listing, is it not? North Chestnut Hill Drive?
Well, this is a beautiful property. It's on 5 acres. It's on Chestnut Hill, which is one of the most beautiful streets in the village of Upper Brookville. It has everything that you would need for comfortable family living or entertaining on grand scale. It's over 10,000 square feet of beautiful space, a tremendous amount of natural light coming through. It's actually a restoration of the original home that was built in the late 1998, the original home was built. And so the current owner came in and just enhanced the original estate, kept the integrity, but also added so many beautiful amenities that are super relevant in today's day. Gorgeous kitchen, lower level, entertaining spaces. It has a pool and a pool house. So this estate right now on the market at $6.8 million. And all you need to do is bring your toothbrush and come in and enjoy life.
And why would they buy that for $7 million instead of going to see Thomas and looking at the South Shore or heading out to the Hamptons? Is it about schools? Is it about commute? Is it about, what is it about?
I think all of the above. Proximity to New York City, incredible infrastructure, top in the nation, top-rated school districts that we have on North Shore of Long Island, dining establishments, golf courses, equestrian centers, anything and everything that you need. And I always say when we sell property on North Shore of Long Island, it's not just the address that we're selling a lifestyle, and we're also selling a community. And a lot of buyers, that's exactly what they're looking for. South Shore, will let Thomas answer. A lot of buyers from Brooklyn, as far as I know, because of the proximity, they tend to move to South Shore. But then I noticed that they still play, eat, shop on North Shore. And later on, they end up kind of selling their property there and moving to the North Shore of Long Island.
Is that true, Thomas? They all leave you for Maria?
Well, I know, but Maria has a great area for sure, and she's a star for sure where she works. What I found, I mean, there's been a big change. I mean, since COVID, since Sandy, since a million things. I work mostly around Long Beach area, Atlantic Beach, Long Beach, the Barrier Islands. And what we find, there are people that live here in homes. And there's some beautiful homes. You're 28 miles from the city, so you could be on the beach, but on the ocean. You know, you're not on the sound, you're on the ocean. What we find a lot is a lot of times the people that raise their, 2.2 kids and have, 5 acres and 3 acres and 2 acres. A lot of times when they retire, they come down and live on the ocean. So there's new complexes that we're representing at Douglas Elliman that are right on the ocean, that are the biggest basically on Long Island. It's 500 units altogether, 200 for sale, 300 for rent. There's 3 more buildings coming up right now that are all high-end oceanfront buildings with every amenity that you can have. And that's on the boardwalk. So there's a brand new boardwalk that was built in Long Beach, which is $50 million worth of boardwalk that was put in.
You're talking about a condominium building?
So there's a brand new condominium building called the Boardwalk that Douglas Elliman represents over here that we've been selling. I actually have one going into contract right now. But it's already, I think, close to 40% sold out with 500 units, 300 being high-end rentals, 200. And then there's 3 other projects coming. I have one of them that are huge. And so maybe at the Boardwalk. So for example, there you go. And they start from 900 up to 4.5 million. So all of these people that are coming from there it is. So now you're on the ocean, you're 28 miles from the city. It could be a second home that you could go here on a Tuesday and be in the city, tomorrow, or stay here for a couple of days, or stay here all the time. So there's different towns here. And
Tom, what was pre-existing in those locations? Like, that's a big swath of land right there.
That's a big swath of land. So for example, that was empty for almost 50 years. And they were trying to build and then finally they came along and someone bought it, and then they bought it and went out of it. And then these people, Engel Berman, came in and bought it and did fantastically, hired Douglas Elliman, and we're banging it out. There is another one that's even going to be nicer than this, that's coming up, that's in a better location. I'm telling you, so we used to have, Maria was talking about, for example, we have a lot of people from Brooklyn. Actually,
you had me sold, and then you just said, but wait, I have a better one coming and a better location. All the people on the waiting list just said, wait a minute.
Well, because what happened, the next project is another one that I have coming up. Yes. So get in line.
So what's the address of the next one? Or is that a secret?
It's a secret.
Okay.
So basically it's coming up. It's going to be 90 units. It's going to be high end. We don't have a lot of 3 and 4 bedrooms, and we're making a lot of those 2 that can be converted into a 2 and a 3, or divided 2 3s that can be sublet. But again, you have a lot of these people coming from these big homes, and after they've raised their family, they don't want to do steps anymore. And so what we find over here is that's our buyer. So 70% of the people that I sell to don't want to do steps anymore. So but they want a nice size home or a condo on the water that they turn the key and they leave. And again, we have beautiful houses here also. It's not going to match the Hamptons, and it's not going to match the North Shore. However, the other one that we're representing right now, which is probably one of the best ones on the whole Barrier Island, is 139 Bayside, if you have it there by any chance. And that is an unbelievable house, and on 3 properties on the ocean in Atlantic Beach, which is really like the Hamptons of the South Shore, and you're 28 miles and you have no commute, so Enzo and I also did this together. And the best development is when you have agents working together, and we all do. We try to, and Enzo and I worked together on this. But this house is on 3 different lots. It's 7,500 square feet. It's built by a super, super high-end builder for himself. And this is a paradise. And you could be out in the ocean on a boat in literally 2 minutes. You can have he has an 87-foot yacht that he docked over there, which there's very few places on Long Island you can do that and have protected water. And it's quite so we have these houses also. But and that's the whole Barrier Island. On one side you have bay, on the other side you have beach. And you could walk to the beach from these houses that are right on the bay. And since Sandy, basically, and since COVID, all new restaurants and all these people that came in, so it created a big demand for higher end restaurants. Again, I go to the North Shore and I go out east to go for fine dining, but we are also getting it here, and it's also super nice. We have some great places here for sure.
So Tom, are most of these, like for example, I see the Hamptons in a lot of ways. The Hamptons is very much a secondary market. Not that people don't live there full time, but here where you're kind of mid-island, these are more primary homes, right?
Well, okay, yeah, yes and no. So if you're like in Atlantic Beach, there's a lot of money there. There's Bernie Madoff money, basically. Half of Bernie Madoff's money probably came from Atlantic Beach.
You mean someone else's
Um,
money?
Someone else's money, basically. But yeah, there's good money there. And so what happened is there's a lot of second home people there, and so there's different communities that come from the city and they buy 2, 3, $4 million homes, and their friends are buying, and that's what is really happening over this last 4 or 5 years. In Long Beach, it's a mixture. So that's what's special about the Long Beach in particular, but the Barrier Island. And I come from Lido, which is another super special place, Lido Beach. We have everything. So it's literally first home buyers, second home buyers, but we also have investors because we have a lot of rentals out here. And high-end rentals, like our rent, it's not again, we're not the Hamptons, but I could rent a house out here for $125,000. I can rent a condo, for $30,000 a month.
To give you an example, if I can, the gentleman who owns that house, he had a couple of houses in the Hamptons. He has a place in Florida. He has a yacht that he keeps in Sag Harbor in the summer. So it's totally, people in different parts of their lives change, and everybody thinks you come to the Hamptons, but there's a movement factor. A lot of people on the Gold Coast had houses in the Hamptons, have houses in the Hamptons, and they go back and forth, So it's very, very transient, and it just basically, it's what's the menu, and people can take it, and that menu changes as you get older or whatever, with the family. So it kind of works. When it gets to the luxury market, we see it, and it's the same people at the end of the day. It's kind of
100%. And so, yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
I agree.
the only quick difference, one more point, was like when I get people move from the North Shore, they're usually moving down here and they're not using it as a second home as much. But we will get some people from the Hamptons. Some of them will move here and some of them not, but the Hamptons are the Hamptons and they're great. However, there's a lot of people who will buy a third home because then they could actually, like, it could be a little 2-bedroom condo that you can get, and then you can commute from the city. So they do have houses in the Hamptons. They do have a place in the city. And then they have this other great, affordable.
They have a resting point right in the middle.
They have a resting place in the middle, and they could use it for the kids. They could use it for whatever, and it's great. And it could be rented.
Is Bellport part of your area?
No, I literally do we have a good sized team, but I personally work from Atlantic Beach, Long Beach, Lido Beach, Point Lookout. Now I'm starting to go, I bought a house in Gilgo, so I'm starting to go Gilgo and a little bit east of that, like West Islip, and I really like that area a lot.
Yeah.
I can
wanna
confirm
ask-
the same, basically what Enzo and Thomas are saying. Most of my clients, multiple, homes, New York City, of course, the main home is on North Shore of Long Island. They do have homes in the Hamptons, and then of course now the sixth borough, which is Florida, extending kind of their footprint there as well. So I think it's the same dynamics primarily, right, Enzo?
You're right on the money too. Right. Most of the people, if you track the people that we have here, like I start advertising for the last 3 months. I start advertising in Florida because they go, why? I go, all my clients are there. I have the high-end people. They go, why is no one looking at my house? I go, they're down with you. They'll be back here in about 2-3 weeks. So it's the same people. So you have to kind of look at it. It's rare that you find someone in the luxury market that says, well, I have a house in New York and I have a house out here. It's normally 3-4 homes type of a situation. Don't you wish I had that problem, that I could have 4 homes?
I want to ask Peter, North Fork, it sounds like you're not part of the club. They keep talking about how there's this scene and they're all kind of the same clients are moving between the South Shore and the Hamptons and the Gold Coast. And it sounds like a totally different kind of person might be looking at the North Fork. Is that true?
We have our own scene, and it's very, very special.
It's,
A lot
is
of
it
our
what the
clients-
Hamptons were when Jackson Pollock was painting out in the Hamptons and everybody left him alone and there was no scene in the Hamptons? And then once there was a scene in the Hamptons, you had to go to the North Fork to sort of
decompress.
decompress. Thank you.
Yeah,
Talk
I
me
like
about
to refer to the
decompressing.
North Fork as a retreat. It's a much slower pace of life. You're immersed in nature, surrounded by the most beautiful beaches in the world, and the conversation is different. People have time for each other, people make time for each other, and as I said, they're not in any hurry to go anywhere or do anything, but there's great depth of character and always an interesting conversation.
Beaches and 60 vineyards, right?
Over 60 now, yes. And people come out specially for the vineyards. They come day tripping, they come and stay in the hotels for the weekends, or they'll take a summer rental from one of us, or they'll buy a home out here. And we have a lot of different types of buyers. We have a younger demographic that have a place in the city, and they love the North Fork so much that they just like to down tools on a Friday evening and head east to their little oasis of calm here on the North Fork. And we have an older demographic that retire out here. We have an older demographic that like to keep their primary home up west and have their secondary home out east. And again, to Enzo and Maria's points, you know, it is a very transient place. It is a place where when people get to a certain age, they like to retreat east and have an easier pace of life. And we see that all day, every day, where a lot of our clients are coming from up west or coming from Manhattan or Brooklyn or Queens or whatever the case may be. And initially they like to visit and spend their summers. And then as they grow older and realize that there's a hell of a lot more to life than the rat race of Manhattan, they like to drop anchor out here. And we take pleasure in finding them their dream homes out here.
What is the value? Sorry, what is the value proposition difference between? I mean, on a complete generality, of course, between, you know, I can't, you know, I'm looking in the Hamptons, I'm really not finding what I want. So someone says, "Look,
it's a great question. It's a great question, Rob. Obviously, we don't have the magnificent mansions that Enzo deals with on a daily basis. But we do give our clients a lot of bang for their buck, and we are getting some of the overflow from the Hamptons now, where people are again at a certain part of their life, at a certain milestone, at a certain age, and they're over the noise, they're over the traffic congestion, they're over, you know, the lack of cell service, and they just want to be in a remote part of the world, close to the beach, with some of the best restaurants in the world at their on their doorsteps, and when they cash out over there, they have surplus capital that they can diversify their portfolio, invest in the market, buy a couple of properties, buy a beautiful waterfront on the North Fork for 2 or 3 mil, and keep a little extra cash for vacation or whatever the case may be. But it really is becoming a destination. And I live on the water myself in Greenport, and I can only compare Greenport to the North Fork's answer to Sag Harbor. It's a harbor village. We can accommodate some of the largest yachts known to man, and we have a vibrant atmosphere. We have a lot going for us here on the North Fork. We have some of the best restaurants, high street stores, some of the most popular ladies' boutiques are now coming into the main streets of Southold, Greenport, Cutchogue, you name it. And as you said, we have over 60 vineyards, so we are spoiled for choice, and people absolutely love the array of choices surrounding them. And it's also important to bear in mind that the North Fork is not just a summer destination. It's now a place where people spend Easter, Valentine's, Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's. People love coming to the North Fork. We have bumper to bumper gridlock traffic pumpkin picking in October for Halloween. It gets crazy, you know, and as an Irishman, I'm still perplexed as to the obsession with pumpkins, but there you have it.
So is there for the lack of a better term, a land play out there where you can buy a couple of acres and literally construct your house, and that's actually good value?
Absolutely. And we're seeing that again and again. We have a Peconic Bay preservation tax in place where every transaction in the South Hole Township, buyers are subject to 2.5% Peconic Bay preservation tax. In the town of Riverhead, it's 2%, and there is an exemption off the sale price. That tax is there to preserve the land. We're very passionate about preserving the land. We're very passionate about preserving the wetlands and kind of conserving the natural beauty of the area.
Enzo, was that a speech you might have made back in the 1970s when you arrived in East Hampton, where you talked about a land play and open space and decompressing?
When I came out here in real estate, you know, at this point I was a school teacher, and I kind of figured out something. I started developing land. I was a land developer. The last thing I ever thought that I would do would become a broker and take people in my car to show them properties. By the way, no one gets in your car anymore. Everybody follows you. It's I don't know why we have cars. Effectively, I could have a skateboard. But when I came out here, I was only interested when I was younger. I used to come out here and surf. I used to go out to Montauk, you know, with crazy stuff in the wintertime. And as I got into land, I watched the whole progression of the movement from the main centers of the Hamptons that used to kind of cluster in the villages and the hamlets. We don't have that many villages. We have a lot of hamlets. Everybody thinks that we do. And you watch it spread out. When I first went out there, I started developing land in Sagaponack. No one even knew what Sagaponack was. And we did, because we used to go, I used to go pheasant shooting when I was young. You literally could go to a farm and not even get permission, and you could go hunting for pheasants. And that's how I got to get to know it. But then as I started the development process, all of a sudden I'm in Sagaponack, and I'm developing land in Sagaponack. And God, how did you know that that would happen? Probably one of the most beautiful places on the face of the earth. You could literally, at that point, you could literally be on Montauk Highway and look down towards the ocean. And there's 4 main roads that go down to the ocean. It ends on Daniels Lane. You could see the ocean from Montauk, from about 2 miles away. You could see the ocean sloping down. So you looked at it, and eventually people were drawn to beauty. And as the movement started, and it started in the 60s, 70s, 80s was really hot. And you just watched the progression coming out. And, you know, then we had Goldman Sachs. They kind of entrenched themselves in Sagaponack, and the whole group of them came out there. That's why it's one of the wealthiest areas you've ever seen. And they all claimed they didn't want to see each other, but they all ended up in the same spot type. So you kind of look at development that way. I did the first major development on the North Fork, which Cove Beach Estates. We ended up buying almost 150 acres there, almost a half a mile going along the Sound, some of the most beautiful land you've ever seen. And you watch people move to the North Fork or the South Fork, and you look at it now, and this place is like, it's like Disney World, you know? It's people go, what? I go, it's like being in a movie living in the Hamptons. It's like Disney World. And people go, well, that doesn't make sense. I go, it's Disney. It makes sense. You know, if you have money and people where they want to be. The growth spurt that we're getting west of the canal has been fantastic. And people saying it's coming, it's coming. It only took a pandemic to make it explode. Because then when the pandemic was here, people didn't want to go all the way out, and all of a sudden they realized they wanted to go back to New York, if they ever wanted to go back to New York, that this was very convenient, you know, there. So again, people choose their own menu. You know, what you need to do if you have a restaurant, and basically when you look at all of the Hamptons, the North Fork, it's like going into a diner and the menu is like 10 pages long. And you can choose what you want. Got everything? I go, everything. But you choose. And that's why you need a good broker to kind of figure out what are you doing? You know, what are you really trying to do here? And you can find it in the Hamptons. You can find it on the North Fork. North Fork is, my gosh, very peaceful. Very, very peaceful place. Different.
What's the difference? Can you walk us through, Peter, of on the North Fork, there's Mattatuck, then you get to Cutchogue, then you get like, what is the progression there? Like, what are the different identities of those townships?
Great question. So obviously the North Fork begins at Riverhead and goes east. Riverhead, there's great value there for buyers still. And as we move into Aquabog and Northville, buyers still finding a lot of value in those areas. However, the further east you go, and obviously similar to where Enzo dominates the market, it is much more expensive. The further east you go, the price points skyrocket. So Mattatuck is a great town, lot of amenities, movie theaters, restaurants, bars, again, great shopping there too. And we're seeing a lot of new construction in that area as well, which is nice to see. And as we move into Cutchogue, where my office is, it's a quaint little town. Again, you know, my background was spent in the city, and as we all know, it's great to be able to get any cuisine under the sun at any hour of the day when you're based in the city. So it was a culture shock to me when I moved out east and realized that I couldn't get a cup of coffee or a sandwich after 3 p.m. You know, this area, it's like as if someone has stopped the clock. And I go into our local diner there, Cutchogue Diner, and I say to the lady, what's the code for the Wi-Fi? And she said, was there internet in 1940? And I said, no. And she said, well, then there's no code to the Wi-Fi. So I love that, because coming from where I come from in Ireland, we're traditionalists, we're old school. My American relatives that visit Ireland feel like we're back in the Stone Age, and they're probably right. But it's kind of beautiful in a lot of respects that you know, we don't bow to what's happening around us. We don't feel the need to be at the cutting edge of technology or whatever the case may be. And again, moving east to Southold has become a real destination, a very, very popular town, a hive of activity, every amenity under the sun available, beautiful beaches, super nice houses. And we're seeing a lot of the older homes turning now and gentrifying. And I've sold a lot of homes this year, actually, that have been renovated, bought by you know, investors that either renovate and hold and rent, or renovate and flip. And a lot of buyers as well coming in and seeing the vision, seeing the potential in these properties. I sold a 1926 home on the main road in Cutchogue recently, and the buyers came from Shelter Island, came in, did a full renovation. I nearly crash the car every time I'm passing because I'm so excited to see what they're doing next with the house. They put all new siding, new roof, they expanded the footprint, and it's just beautiful to see the area turning. I sold another off-market property recently, and it was completely hidden by bushes and trees. And my buyer came in and he cleared the lot, and he is doing the most phenomenal renovation. And it's just so rewarding to be a small part of the facelift of the North Fork, if you will.
Peter, I just looked at all the photos of the North Fork. There was not one person in any of the photos. They were empty beaches, empty fields, empty. I guess that's what appeals to the North Fork to an Irishman like yourself.
We need to get onto the marketing department about that. We need to Photoshop some people onto the beaches. No, I mean, Enzo will tell you in the summertime, this area becomes a very different place. You know, in the wintertime, it's a bit of a ghost town. But in the summertime, it's a hive of activity. The population goes through the roof. People come out and really enjoy what they have. And we're just only too delighted to provide the services that we provide, be it on the sales side or the buy side, or help investors or help tenants find summer rentals, whatever the case may be. We're happy to show up, and a lot of the time it doesn't feel like work at all to be surrounded by such beauty and dealing with great people. It's a joy.
Can I ask you guys something? All of your markets. How was your inventory? Like Maria, you were talking about that one house, and that one house that we saw that was they had restored. It's like, I don't know how much it was, but it was beautiful. But how many of those are there? Like, is that seller competing with another 5 of those, or is there only like 1 or 2? How long have you been showing it? Is there a lot of demand for that? Like, can you just talk to me about that a bit?
Great question, Roberto. So inventory overall is still very low. In the last few weeks, it started to open up a little bit, but we definitely can use more inventory. And I believe that's goes the same for Thomas, for your market as well. And
100%.
Enzo and Peter can certainly address what's happening out east. So this specific property that you're referring to, it all depends, because it's also driven by potential school districts. So if the buyers, let's say, coming from New York City or other areas, and the kids are not necessarily in the school district yet, then they are able to expand their search across many incorporated villages. However, if you're looking for a specific school district, then you only really limit it to a couple of homes like that. That being said, we're truly blessed with the most highly rated school districts on North Shore of Long Island, but we also have tremendous private schools. And so a lot of times there's a choice, right? So for resale value, as brokers, we always recommend the importance, and we highlight the importance of the school district for resale value. However, that being said, it's a choice if you're sending your kids to private or public schools, and it's a choice for each and every family. The property that you're referring to, it's pretty much in the $7 million price range. Most of the homes that are under $3 million, inventory really does not exist. Anything that comes to market and price smart, which again, during our initial marketing consultation as brokers, we advise our clients that it's not, 2021 or even 2022 anymore. The market is different. And if we are to sell in a timely manner, we should come, even taking into consideration low inventory, which will generate higher numbers. We still need to be price smart, because buyers are very resourceful and they are giving full ask offers and even above, but they need to see that value. And I think that that's very important. So inventory in a lower price range is even more shallow, if you will.
At $3 million, if I don't find what I want, and I'm a working stiff and I got to commute into Manhattan every day and I got to educate my kids, and if I don't find what I want because of the lack of inventory, am I going to head south to Thomas's territory? Am I going to head east?
Absolutely. You can certainly get more for your money there, but then again, that's the choice you're making, and if that's convenient in terms of commute and everything else. I think these decisions are very individual to a specific buyer and specific family. If I have my in-laws in Brooklyn, then of course I'll probably do South Shore, so it's a better commute. If I'm
if I like my in-laws.
Well, yes, I like my in-laws.
Good answer.
Thomas, yeah, they got good schools now. As the South Shore responded by saying, okay, we're a market now for commuters who've been priced out of the Gold Coast, and or is it a second home community? I mean,
it's a different group. I think it's different group of buyers. It's not really the same buyer. So I don't believe they're the same. So they're two different groups, meaning, I mean, for $3 million, I can put you right on the ocean on a pretty nice house. That's, 4,000 to 5,000 square feet. and you'll have amazing views, and you're 28 miles from the city. So our average price, so for example,
You know, your phone's going to light up after this show. I mean, you know, and once our readership catches wind of the fact that you can put me into an ocean view for $3 million.
It amazes me. It amazes me of what there is in New York. For example, I had a penthouse. It's a couple of years ago, but here's an example of it. It was a building called the Aqua. It was the newest one we had. I had the penthouse. I had the nicest apartment on Long Island. It had a 2,000 square foot rooftop deck. I'm looking at the ocean. It was 10-foot ceilings. And for $2.5 million at the time, I know, because I own in the city, I know what you can get in the city for $2.5 million, and it's not that nice. Having said that, you could be out here, commute every single day, commute whenever you want. And this was a 1,960 square foot apartment. I mean, I did sell it, and now it's probably worth $3.5 million. But that's what's going on right now. And
What sort
there
of
is a
tax?
different, for me, there's a different feeling between the ocean and it's a different buyer.
What sort of
and
taxes
why-
does someone have to pay for like a $3 to $4 million place like you're talking about on the water? Like, what are the taxes
About
per year?
$23,000, 23, 20,000, 25, like that. If you're getting into a brand new construction home, you could start hitting 35, 40, you know. But again, I mean, you
Those
can
are
go to 5
Connecticut
towns, and
numbers.
you can go to 5 towns and pay 80 or 90,000 more than 100,000, you know. And
But you want to talk about Manhattan?
I'm
Okay.
willing to talk about that.
Don't
actually,
forget that
flood
when
in
you
my apartment
move,
today.
you walk away from city tax. When you move to Long Island, Nassau, Suffolk County, you walk away from city tax. So that's also taking into consideration, and you kind of have a choice of not sending your kids to private school because public schools are awesome, and there's a tremendous.
But I can get
need there
Peter
as
a
well.
sandwich at 2 a.m. here. Just
Well,
saying.
Uber Eats can
Could you
fix
bring it
the
on your
issue.
We have
bicycle?
refrigerators over here.
You know, it's funny, my wife and I were really looking at, what are we going to do? And I guess we're never gonna leave the Hamptons, I can't see that. But if I did, one of the places that really, really intrigues me is where Tom works, the area that is there is just amazing, because effectively you have a city and you're on the ocean. And it's cool, it's just like you can get anything you want, and I kind of like that idea. And also just walk down the street and you're on the ocean. That really appeals to me. Getting a
Well, I
condo.
could form a nice partnership, Enzo.
Yeah, no, I really, really do that, and then take Peter's property. There's a little hamlet there. It's called New Suffolk. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, Tom. Have you ever heard of it?
Oh, no.
It's geologically, it's just an amazing place. It's you go down to Mattatuck and you start going along the water, and it's sandy dunes, farms. It's just beautiful and deep water.
Yep.
So you have a lot of sailboats there and stuff.
Some of the most expensive.
That's really, really, that's a gorgeous area. I mean, beautiful. And the Bacon brothers bought Robbins Island there. See that little island right in the middle there? Yeah, they own that. I've been there. I used to play polo with them, but it's just an amazing water, kind of a beautiful, beautiful spot. One of my favorites.
How much for a house in New Suffolk? I mean, wow, it's beautiful.
Yeah, Peter, what are you going for? On the water, I would say 3 to 5 million.
Yeah, waterfront, you're talking, if you get really lucky, 2.5 mil, but on average, 3 mil and up. And there's a premium.
How much
There's a
land is
premium
that
for
on?
New Suffolk. Sorry, Rob?
How much land would that be on, more or less?
You'd probably be looking at a half acre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does anybody live there? Again, no people in the photos.
It is a very, very popular spot, and we have a lot of year-round people living there.
If I take you down Dune Road now, there's no people there either. So it's, it's not just there. And that's what, it fills up really quick,
Just to piggyback on Maria's point about the taxes, the funny thing is, the further east you go on the North Fork, the easier the taxes get. it's a bit of an oxymoron because the further east you go, the more beautiful it gets. And an average sized home, say 4 beds, 2.5 baths on a half acre, you're looking at around $8,000 to $10,000 taxes per year, which is pretty good when you look at further west.
For sure.
Orient- Orient
In
is-
my market, anything below 50,000 considered to be relatively low taxes. I mean, we have estates that have much higher taxes, but that's also if sellers are diligent in grieving them on a yearly basis, because taxes, I believe, it's just this magic formula that no one really able to figure out. We're not
Right.
Florida, where it's like 2% of the sale side, and that's cut and dry. There could be a property located next to each other, and one is paying 47,000 in taxes and the other is 74, and basically they are relevant in terms of acreage, in terms of square footage, and yet it's a dramatic difference in taxes.
And
But
it's a
if I
very
have
difficult
several kids-
question to ask when buyers ask you, you know, why is this house 25, why are the taxes 25,000 on this and 18,000 on this? There's just a myriad of different factors that are,
Right.
you know, incorporated in the calculation. So it's a difficult question to field as a broker.
You know, it sounds expensive until you realize that some of my friends, and I have 4 kids, some of my friends have 4 kids. And when you realize what the cost is to educate 4 kids in private school in New York, then you look at that $70,000 in
Not so much.
taxes, and you say, I can educate all of my kids, and it's only going to cost me 74,000. So it's all relative.
Absolutely.
That's why people move to Westchester.
All right, we only have a couple minutes to go, so let's move into predictions. Talk to me about we've already talked about the lack of inventory. What's it going to take to shake loose some inventory? What's it going to take, and are we going to see a change in some of these? I mean, Enzo, we could begin with you. You've got the long view on the Hamptons when it was a very sleepy community, like what Peter's described, and has really become a scene. What's next for the Hamptons?
Well, I mean, you know, the pandemic is really kind of shattered everything. You know, our lives, young people's lives, older lives, how we relate. I don't think we really have the full effect of what that's done to us or with kids. But in the housing market, what occurred, everybody ran here in the middle of the pandemic. A lot of my neighbors, I don't know them. All of a sudden, in the middle of the pandemic, I'm meeting all my neighbors here. So that change shook things up. And a lot of people trying to run away from the city, they were out here, and obviously you saw the boom. Who would have thought? And all of a sudden you go like, oh wow, it's going to explode. And the value just went through the roof. And a lot of those people came out here, and they came out here going, why am I not buying it? Because I can rent it. And then fast forward a year later, and they all go, well, I rent it, and no one is renting homes. And people go to me, what's happening? I go, you all bought. So now add another year, and people realize that owning a home is, you make a commitment. Renting out here, you know, you're here and you leave. So that market is starting to come around now. A lot of people are starting to move it, and they bought without really considering what they were going to do because there was no other choices. So that's coming on the market. A lot of the bigger homes are coming on the market because people get older and their kids are, you know, you sit in a 12,000 square foot home on the beach, and there you are, you and your wife having breakfast, you know? In the kitchen, you end up kitchen. So things are changing radically. So the inventory is starting to loosen up radically out here. Radically.
I want predictions from the others, but before we do, I'm going to lose Voice America. So I just want to thank you before I lose them on the live feed. I want to express my sincere gratitude to Peter Halpin in Cutchogue, Maria Babaev in Roslyn, Thomas Tripodi in Long Beach, and Enzo Morabito in West Hampton. Thank you so much. This has been a tremendous show.
I really appreciate it.
And if you loved this like we do, tell your friends, like it, share it, and come back and join us. Now, I don't want to cut you off. I'm going to lose in a few seconds voiceamerica.com, but I do want to hear from Maria and Peter and Thomas, their predictions for your respective markets. Go ahead, Thomas.
Maria, Thomas. Okay. Look, but I don't know what's going to change to get more listings. I mean, it's such an upset of what happened, and there's so many people that bought out here, and there's, like I said, our city clientele changed from about 20% up to about 44% of the people coming from Manhattan buying out here. Now, what I also believe is they'll move out here, and then some of them bought condos, some of them bought houses, and then I think they switch around. The nice part is we're close enough to be in the city if they have to commute. I also do believe that a lot of people bought out of fear during the thing, and I don't think everybody's happy with their purchases all the time. You know, why I feel a little lucky over here is, again, being able to be commutable. I don't think it's such a bad thing. My ultimate prediction, and I sold my own house. I sold 2 investment properties that I make money on. The market's been going up for such a long time, and then we have COVID and it goes up even another 25%.
Yeah.
But eventually everything has a downside. I'm not seeing it, but so again, I'll tell all my sellers, look, it's just a matter of when, not if. But it could be 1 year, it could be 5 years, and you have a lot of new things happening. So I don't know what's going to loosen up. I mean, I do think that it's all fabricated, the interest rates right now, and I think they will have to bring them down. And when those interest rates do come down, yes, I think listings will ease up and we will get a lot more. And then you'll see prices change once that happens. But until that happens, and I just think it's truly
All clear on
government.
Voice
It's
America.
fabricating, you know.
It's tough to give up a 3% mortgage.
You can, right? I have a 1.9% mortgage that I got, you know. Crazy.
Maria, are you bearish too? Come on, give me some good news after Thomas says that we're heading for a fall one of these days.
I am very bullish on North Shore of Long Island. That's where I live, I work, I raise my family for the last 20 plus years. My market area will continue to be super desirable. Where else you can find convenience, proximity to New York City, 25 miles to Manhattan, infrastructure, parks, gardens, the most incredible school districts, dining establishments that are second to none. Americana Manhasset with all the shopping that it has to offer, golf courses, equestrian centers, you name it, we got it. I truly believe that we'll continue to, the values of the properties continue to increase. They might not be in double digits, but I think we're at the steady 3 to 5 to 7 points. It's also all depends on the segment of the market, because every time people ask me how's the market, my question is what kind of market? Are we talking about market below $2 million? Are we talking about 2 to 5? Are we talking north of 5? These are different predictions for each and every segment, but overall, desirable, people want to be here. Where else you can have this close to the American dream and American history? Pretty much that's happening right here, right now.
You know what excites me about your market, and it hasn't been mentioned, is the proximity to 2 major airports. The fact that I could live in the North Shore of, I could live in the Gold Coast of Long Island, and I can get to an airport with a direct flight to either Paris or to head down to Palm Beach for the weekend. And I know it takes me an hour to an hour and a half from Connecticut to get to an airport, but so I'm my market very jealous.
27 minutes to LaGuardia and about 25 to Kennedy Airport from Roslyn. No traffic assuming.
Especially with people like yourself splitting your time between more than one market now.
That's true. Yes.
That's a little faster than it is for me to get to LaGuardia.
And we have MacArthur on our doorstep, right, Enzo?
What is MacArthur, Peter?
In
That's
Iceland.
the airport.
Small little airport. in Islip. So you could get a hop flight to Miami for a meeting or sunbathing.
Since we're talking about airports, Peter, I have heard a few headlines about the East Hampton airport and whether people are going to have to start using the Montauk airport. And now you're talking to me about the MacArthur airport. So how important is airports to your markets and their ability to continue to grow and service flights?
Huge, because as Enzo said, a lot of our clients are split their time between Florida and New York. So, you know, early in the season, when we're on the phones with our clients, they're in warmer climates down in Miami or wherever the case may be. And for them to have access to the Hamptons via MacArthur is a game changer. And they can be on the ground with us in a very short period of time, which is immense.
About the airport, you know, in West Hampton Beach, all the private jets, if you have a house, you can get there and handle the biggest jets in the world. But if you have a private jet, you can be in your home, land at the airport, and be in your home on Dune Road on the ocean in about 10 minutes. That's amazing, you know. I've gone to Florida on a private jet, and my wife picks me up at the end of the day, and I'm 5 minutes away. I have dinner in 10 minutes. It's kind of it's a big plus.
John, we need a jet.
An airport is weird to get in there. It's very short. I don't know if you ever landed there. My God, you know, I'm praying to stop and not to run into any deer at the end. So it's a great place, you know.
So final predictions, Peter, are you guys going to start developing big condo complexes like Thomas is doing on the South Shore? Or are you going the route of Enzo in the Hamptons?
We're moving forward with an open mind. Whatever comes the way of the North Fork, we will embrace it. In my humble opinion, price points will continue to rise. We're up over 2% on last year. We show no signs of slowing down. It is a hot destination. It's where everybody wants to be. They get a hell of a lot of bang for their buck. They're surrounded by serenity, calm, tranquility, nature, beauty. It is the place to be. If you are interested, call me today and we'll make your dreams a reality.
I'm going to give Roberto the last word after that. I mean, how do you follow that?
There's no final word. That is it. That is the exclamation point. That was fantastic.
As we say over at Douglas Elliman Real Estate, the next move is yours.
There you go. Right on.
Love it, Peter.
Thank you, Peter, Thomas,
Touché.
Maria, Enzo. And thank you, Roberto, my partner in crime, for what, 4 years and 133 episodes.
Indeed.
All right.
Thank
tell
you guys
all your
so much.
friends.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Stay well.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye now.
Take care.